Well, welcome. Welcome to the overview of Yondr pouches here at Carroll. My name is Allison West. I'm the middle school division head, and I'm joined tonight by Kate Collins, the upper school division head, as well as our partner at Yondr, Jackson. And I just want to start off by saying I've been teaching for 23 years, and in the last, gosh, I don't know, decade or so, cell phones have become part of our world at school. And more so than ever, they're becoming a bigger and bigger distraction. So I'm really, really excited about this partnership with Yondr. You know, all of the latest research right now is highlighting the negative impacts that cell phone use and having all this access can have on our children. And it's so compelling that DESE, the Department of Education, is actually giving loads of grants to schools in an effort to help remove these phones from the classroom. So, you know, I have been really fortunate to speak with several school leaders who've partnered with Yondr, both public and independent, who have implemented Yondr in the last year or so. And every school leader had really, really positive feedback, and it's given us a great wealth of information this summer as we began our partnership with Jackson and with Yondr to begin planning this rollout. Kate and I and Jackson and our other academic leaders here at Carroll have done a lot of thinking and have thought really hard to try and capture and address all the different elements that are going into putting Yondr into place. Things like, what if there's an emergency? Things like, what if my child really needs access to a phone for a medical reason or for something that may require an exception? So we have put a great deal of thought into how we plan to roll this out. And we've been super fortunate to have Jackson at Yondr sort of guide us through this process. Before I turn it over to Jackson to provide this overview, you're going to notice that there is a Q&A feature. It's located at the bottom of my screen. It may be on the side of yours. If you have questions along the way, please populate your questions using that Q&A feature. We will be moderating the questions and answering as many as we possibly can before we wrap up at 6:45 this evening. Any questions that we can't get to, or perhaps you have a question that is really personal to your individual child, we will reach out to you, either Kate or myself, and we will have an answer, or we will schedule a call to problem solve together. So please use that Q&A feature. And after Jackson is done with his overview of Yondr, there will be an opportunity for more open Q&A at the end. So without further ado, I'm going to pass this over to our new partner, Jackson.
Thank you for the wonderful introduction. My name is Jackson. I'm the implementation associate here at Yondr. I started in Yondr in 2019 when I graduated college in a part-time facet. But in the past year, I've come back full-time. And I've been at schools all around New England, private schools, public schools, charter schools, anything in between. We work with schools all around the country, and we've noticed some great improvements from those schools. So we're excited to be bringing it to Carroll. So just to kick things off on what Yondr is and why Yondr came to be, it was actually created for adults to begin with. Chris Rock, many other comedians realized that they were having a hard time getting adults full attention when they were at shows. And there just so happened to be teachers attending these shows, different admin kind of realizing that if Chris Rock can't get a 30, 40, 50-year-old off their phone, it might be hard for the math teacher to do that as well. And after I was pulling adults out of shows and they were getting weepy with me, it did kind of hit me that this is an adult problem. We gave our children smartphones. They're supercomputers. They carry them around in their pockets. And we said, only use it when you're supposed to, follow the proper etiquette. that we had not yet established. So we're trying to go back to the beginning, rewind time, and try to incorporate that positive phone etiquette and digital citizenship. But like you see here, Serena Williams used us for her wedding. Justin Timberlake's used us. Billie Eilish has used us. Netflix uses us when they're filming, just so that the extras aren't leaking out footage or whatever it may be. But really, we're trying to go back to the classroom where teachers can teach and get through their lesson plan, and students are able to engage and absorb that information. So just going through some of the surveys that we send out every year at the end of the school year. Again, these are schools of all different sizes, all around the country. We've recently spread into Australia and London and all over Europe as well. But you'll see here that a large majority of the schools have seen great improvement, whether it's behavior of the students. I always noticed that when I go back into a school after maybe 2 or 3 weeks of them using Yondr, their lunchroom is louder, but that's a great thing because students are talking again and they're making eye contact, they're joking around, and they're being just kids, enjoying each other's presence. But that also stems over into the classroom, and teachers saw a great amount of improvement and engagement. We had a teacher who was about to retire. She said, "I'll give this Yondr pouch 1 more year before I retire." It was her first year using it, and then she agreed to do 5 more years before retiring because she felt that it made such a difference. She said she hadn't connected with students like that in such a long time. So along with that piece, it also goes back to social media use and self-confidence and everything that studies have shown affects a student's well-being and their mental health. And I don't know about your children specifically, but there's a lot of children who haven't put their phone down for 8 hours other than just to sleep. So from what I've seen, it makes a big difference kind of taking a break. So like I mentioned earlier, we're all across the country. Massachusetts has recently made a big push. I'm located in Hartford, and their district just made some funds available so that the schools here could join Yondr as well. In all throughout New England, Holyoke, Springfield, Boston seem to be growing very rapidly. And like I mentioned, Australia, Denmark, London, all across Europe are also using it. So this isn't just something happening to your specific school, but it's a change and it's a problem that's being addressed throughout the world. So just to go over the logistics, when your student comes in the morning, they'll have an open pouch. They will have their phone, turn it off, hopefully before they arrive to the front door. They'll put it in the pouch along with their smartwatches, and it's just as easy as closing the pouch, putting it in their backpack, and they're good to go for the day. At the end of the day, these magnets will be located at the entrances and exits. We've already walked through the schools and found the best places for them to be. So it shouldn't impede on dismissal time at all. It actually has a sense to hurry students to the exit so they can get back and check in on things. But at the end of the day, they'll just take the green side of the pouch, they'll touch it to the magnet, and they'll tap the back side of it, quick tap, and it opens right up. These magnets are very specially made for these Yondr pouches and the technology inside of them. We've had students try to buy other magnets on Amazon and any other way they could try to swindle the system. But as you can see, my phone is working, screen's turning on. I can rub it on the magnet and my screen is still working. We've had students buy cheap, strong magnets on Amazon, come into school, sell a pouch open for $10. Turns out they wiped 20 phones and they had a big bill to recoup that. But really at the beginning of the school day when students are coming into the school, we want it to be a phone-free zone. So that front door is the line in the sand. Past this point, we're a phone-free zone. So on the first day of launch, as a student is approaching the building, there will be an admin outside, or myself or Matt, who is my coworker at Yondr, just asking students to take their phones out and turn them off. This really speeds up the process. Watching students turn their phone off, I spend a lot of time doing this, and not everybody knows how to turn it off still. But they'll turn it off. They'll walk into the school where there will be a table. They'll approach the table. An admin or myself will be there with a pouch, holding it open. They'll slide their phone into the pouch, close it, and then there will be another table behind that table with a bunch of Sharpies. They can write their name on it, their grade level, and then that is their pouch throughout the year. They bring it to and from school every day, and they can decorate on it. We actually encourage students to make it their own, however they want to design it or decorate it. As long as the pouch is in good working condition, there's no problem. At the end of that day, we will come back to help with dismissal, and that's really just to be there to show the students how the pouches work. Like I said earlier, green side down, pops open, and they can take their phone out. They'll leave the pouch open in their backpack until the next day when they come in. When they come in the next day, it should be open so that they can just walk through the front door, show the admin or teachers that their phone is off and they're putting it in the pouch, closing it, and they're on their way. That second day after launch, we'll do a pouch check. And this is really just to kind of catch the first few students who are trying to test the system. These are not invincible. They're not a phone jail. It is a seatbelt, and it can be destroyed, and I've seen it many, many, many times. But when a student comes back in for that second day, we're simply just going to open it, take a look. If there's a bunch of pencil marks around here, they might have been trying to pry it open. If this needle is bent, they've clearly tried to break it. If the globe has a bunch of scuff marks on it, they must have been hitting it on a wall. I've seen more ways than I can remember of how to break these things open. So we're just trying to catch that first wave of pouches that may be broken, and we're going to revert back to that progressive discipline policy that has been put in the handbook. So for late students, there will also be a magnet in the office. So as they're checking in, whoever's at the front office will just ask, have you pouched your phone yet? If they say no, simply pouch the phone and they're off. For early dismissal, for sports, I met with the admin and the teaching staff earlier today, and that's something they're taking into consideration as far as sports go, to make sure that students have enough time to go unpouch their phone before they go off to an away game. But it'll be easy to work around. So anything revolving around a phone being out, pouch broken, student lying about putting their phone in the pouch, student lying about bringing a pouch or bringing their phone, it's all going to revert back to the disciplinary policy of we're going to hold the phone for the day. I believe if the pouch is broken or the pouch is lost, it'll be a $25 replacement fee for that family to occur. But same for all of this. If a student does forget their pouch, let's say they just left it on their bedside table, but they know where it is, they can grab it, bring it the next day. They'll simply just leave their phone in an envelope that we've provided. It has a place for them to write their name and their grade, and they'll just come pick that up at the end of the day. So for staff, we have Velcro pouches because we want everybody to understand that this is a big change for students, and this might be a big change for staff as well. But hopefully, after we reflect on it, it'll be a very positive change. But the staff will be getting Velcro pouches. They don't have the magnetic lock on it, but it is industrial Velcro. It's really loud to open. When you open it, people are gonna raise their heads up. But really, this is just for teachers to say, we understand what you're going through, and we're gonna model the correct behavior because we're the adults in the building, and it is the least we can do. Resorting back to the student art program. So we're going to provide fabric markers. They can do any design they want on their pouch. At the end of every year, we have a student art contest. And the winner of that contest, I think we select about 12 to 15. We put them on posters, and we ship those posters all around the world to our different partners. It's a pretty cool way to just, one, take ownership of your pouch, but also pretty cool to think that a school in Australia might see your artwork. And then this isn't listed on here, but we also have for students that are 16 and older, when a band or a comedian comes to a town near you, we'll reach out to your school first before we make any outside hires for any students that are over 16 that might want to see Yondr in a different light, be used in the entertainment industry. And it pays $18 an hour, which is pretty good. But that is all I have for you so far. Here's my email. If you have any additional questions, or you want to see any different news articles or schools around you that might be using it as well, feel free to reach out.
Thank you, Jackson. I do see that there are a couple questions populated in the Q&A feature. So please, if you do have a question, please feel free to pop that in. I will just mention that in the upper school, the hope is to roll these out during that first week, potentially on that first Tuesday when students arrive. In the middle school, we're going to be rolling this out on September 13th, which is the second week. We're going to have an opportunity to be previewing this with students and getting students prepared. And then Jackson and Matt will arrive on campus on the 13th to help us do an official rollout and distribute all of the new pouches.
An additional question regarding the cost, and the Carroll School is, of course, there's no cost to the family and in utilizing Yondr. The policy states are fees regarding damage or destruction to the bag, but nothing about initiating.
One question that we've had too is related to smartwatches, or wearables, they're often called. And the expectation is that students will turn off cell phones and wearable watches and place them in the pouch for the duration of the day. Many schools also require that earbuds also go in the pouch, but at Carroll, our students are often using their earbuds to connect to their Chromebook to use some of the adaptive features like text to speech and such. So earbuds will not be locked up for the day.
So I see a question about which pouches that the teachers and administrators and staff will be using. I touched on it briefly, but it's going to be a Velcro pouch. It doesn't lock, it doesn't block signal. It's just really loud to open. But it looks about the same. It just doesn't have the green circle on it or any of the locking components.
And another question that has come up several times is about after school, and we do have extended day programs like after school study hall, which are we really want students to be focused and engaged in the work that they're doing. Our protocol and our process right now is that every student will unlock their pouch at 3:10 at dismissal. However, in the case of an after school study, which is on campus, sort of right off that lobby area, if a child is struggling to remain engaged in order to get their work done during study hall, we can individualize and have students keep their phones in their pouches. When it comes to athletics, because students are there may be an away game, or maybe they're going to be in Wayland, we will have students unlock their pouch, but the expectation will still be that they are not on their phone during practice. And the teacher pouch, the purpose for the teacher pouch to be Velcroed and not to be locked is there are plenty of times during the day where a teacher does not need to have access to their cell phone. So when they're teaching a class, for example, or when we're in a community meeting, or if we're in a faculty meeting. So it serves a couple different purposes, but mainly we're hoping that the adults in our community can model the etiquette that we are expecting students to adhere to. However, and another question that's often asked is, what about in the case of an emergency? Our teachers may need to use and gain quick access to their phones should an emergency arise, or should they be down at the lower field, for example, on the middle school campus, and a student is stung by a bee, and get in quick contact with the nurse. So while we want teachers to be modeling the behavior, we also know that the reality is teachers may need access to their phones throughout the day, because teachers do not have individual landlines within their classrooms either. I'm also seeing some questions just generally about how to hold students accountable for phone use during bus rides and Friday programming and things of that nature. And those conversations will happen with students prior to extended day happening, so that the expectation is really clear. Students will not have them locked when they are on these programs, but the policies or the expectations will still remain in place. Our hope is, as students begin to gain comfort and begin to gain better habits around how to navigate not having their phone when they shouldn't, that some of this will sort of generalize. That is the hope.
Typically after the first 2 weeks, there tends to be a big shift to the culture of a school. But also you can notice it individually in the students that there's not the need to reach for your phone in your pocket. They can kind of put their mind into other places.
And I see we have a student here who's wondering what happens if we forget to unlock our phone at the end of the day. That's a really great question. We, with the help of Jackson in the middle school and the upper school, we have laid out, I think, a really solid plan for having magnets accessible and available at dismissal, including one down at Needham Station. So even as you're running to your car, if you realize that you have forgotten, we will have a magnet on hand to unlock. If somehow you forget, chances are you're only going to forget one time. But as Jackson mentioned, the bags are not indestructible. If you do forget to unlock your pouch and you simply cannot wait the 12 hours to unlock it the next day, you can cut it open. I don't share that because I want that to happen, but in the event that you really need to gain access, you can. Kate, it looks like there is a question about the use of these in the upper school and the potential benefits that you see.
Sure. I mean, ultimately, I think the benefits in the upper school, I think are true as it. You know, many of the schools I spoke with are high schools. The implementation at, you know, middle and high school age students. Our community, while we have clear cell phone policies around phones being away, frankly, the kind of the management of that policy and students' ability to inhibit their desire to be on their phone has been a complicated experience for many students and frankly for many adults. So there's both the benefits, I think, around distraction and cell phone engagement over community engagement, and also just the kind of unnecessary discipline moments or needs for conversations about phones where we could be spending time talking about other things. So I think that may be a answer that could come from any school, but particularly in the upper school, the students, while there's cell phone signal is actually not great, there's students who have been finding their way around that, frankly, through structures that are in direct violation of our acceptable use policy and have been putting themselves at some significant risk within our behavior review system. So I also see it as a benefit for students who, frankly, just really struggle to inhibit that impulse to be on their phone, Snapchatting, posting things on Instagram, etc. So that's a kind of one of the other layers of the benefits.
I'd like to acknowledge a question too that came in about we do have some students who don't have cell phones. We will provide a pouch to all students. We don't want students to feel left out, even if it is empty or if they feel like it's going to call them out for not having a device. So we are prepared to provide a pouch for all students. I do see that there are a couple questions here that we will likely answer more specifically and targeted to individual parents. But if there are any other questions about just logistics or rationale, or if you have a kiddo close by who's like, ask this, we're happy to answer that now. All right. Well, if you have any further questions, you can reach out to Kate or myself at any time, and we are happy to have further conversation. And, we are really looking forward to helping students develop really healthy habits when it comes to cell phone use and accessing the superpowers that these devices offer. And we're really grateful to Jackson and the folks at Yondr for helping us get this all set up. So with that, I hope you all have a wonderful night. We will see you very soon to kick off the new school year. Thank you so much.